Have you ever had one of those rare conversations where time just melts away? Where it feels like you've known the person forever, even if you just met? That right there is rapport. Now, let's be honest, it's one of life's greatest feelings. You know, the ones filled with forced, small talk or awkward silences where you ray desperately scanning for an exit. But on the flip side, we've all had those painfully awkward exchanges too. And here is the twist. We're going to explore it through the lens of timeless Jewish wisdom. So, what's the difference? Why do some interactions instantly click, while others never get off the ground? That's exactly what we're diving into today. Strangers, or even family members you've grown distant from. Because believe it or not, buried deep in Jewish tradition are powerful. Practical insights on how to build genuine connections with people, whether it's friends, co-workers. So if you're tired of shallow conversations and want to start creating truly meaningful relationships, please stick around. By the end of this video, you'll have some age-old tools you can start using today. Building blocks of rapport. The Jewish approach. Let's start with a foundational idea from Jewish tradition called Ahavat Yisrael, which literally means love of the people of Israel. But this concept goes much deeper than just love for your own community. It's about recognizing the inherent worth and dignity in every human being. Imagine walking into every conversation with that mindset, instead of sizing people up, comparing yourself, or looking for flaws. You're tuned into their inherent value. Whether it's offering a genuine compliment, lending a hand, you're looking for what's good, what's unique, what's worthy of respect. When people see that you stand for justice, that you're fair, consistent. Then there's Chesed, which means kindness. Jewish texts are overflowing with stories and teachings about the importance of simple acts of kindness. And here's the key. Kindness is one of the fastest ways to build rapport, or just being fully present. These small gestures create huge emotional deposits in your relationships. And we can't forget Tzedakah, often translated as charity, but it actually means justice. It's about fairness, integrity, and doing right by others. And trustworthy, it builds a foundation of respect. Without that, any rapport you try to build will be on shaky ground. When you combine that with truly listening, paying attention, not just to words. So, these three pillars, love, kindness, and justice, aren't just lofty spiritual ideas. They're the backbone of authentic human connection. Active listening, a Jewish lens try. What's been the highlight of your week so far? Or what's something you're excited about right now? These invite people to open up. If someone's telling you about a tough day, resist the urge to immediately give advice or one-up their story. Alright, let's get super practical. Because if there's one skill that Jewish wisdom, and frankly, all good communication highlights, is active listening. There's a beautiful concept in Judaism called hakarat hatov, which means recognizing the good. After someone shares, try saying, "So what I'm hearing is," or "it sounds like you felt." That's how trust is built. That's how rapport is born. Real listening is becoming rare, and that means people are starved for it. It's holding space for another person's story without judgment or hurry. This shows you're not just hearing, but truly understanding. It's about being attuned to the positive in others. We'll also explore simple rituals and greetings that create warmth instantly. But to feelings and unspoken needs, you create a bond that goes far beyond surface level chit-chat. So how do you actually do this? Ask open-ended questions instead of the tired, "How's it going?" Paraphrase and reflect. Show empathy. Sometimes just saying, "That sounds really hard, I'm glad you shared it with me," goes miles further. Jewish sages often emphasize that the deepest form of connection isn't speaking, it's listening. Why this matters in everyday life? Think about it. We live in a hyper-distracted world. Notifications buzz. Our attention spans are shrinking. When you give someone your full attention, eye contact, undivided focus, you're offering a gift more precious than anything money can buy. And it's exactly what these ancient Jewish teachings are getting at. They're not mystical or impractical. They're down-to-earth habits that, practiced consistently, change the quality of every relationship you have. In part 2, we'll dive into the fascinating world of nonverbal communication through a Jewish perspective. Why eye contact, body language, and even respecting personal space are so crucial in forming bonds. The power of nonverbal connection. Lessons from Jewish customs. So let's talk about something that's often more powerful than words: nonverbal communication. It turns out Jewish tradition has a lot to say about how we physically engage with others, even if it's not always spelled out as body language like modern psychology does. Contact and the soul connection. There's a beautiful idea in Jewish thought that says, the eyes are the window to the soul. That's not just poetic, it's deeply practical. In Jewish culture, eye contact is often a sign of honesty and respect. When the people meet and truly look each other in the eyes, it's like saying, I see you, I'm present with you. There's an unspoken acknowledgement of dignity. Contrast that with darting eyes, checking your phone, or scanning the room while someone's talking. Those little signals add up and tell the other person, you're not my priority right now. So, next time you're in a conversation, try this simple experiment. Hold their gaze just a second longer than you naturally would. In Jewish gatherings, especially traditional ones, you'll be amazed at how quickly it deepens the sense of connection. Part of honoring someone is being sensitive to their comfort. Body language and respecting space. Tuning into these cues shows emotional intelligence and builds trust. Then there's the subtle but powerful art of respecting personal space. You'll often see people naturally giving each other comfortable space, unless there is a clear invitation for closeness. This is tied to a deeper principle called Kavod, which means honor or respect. Not everyone wants a hug or a hand on the shoulder. At the same time, when someone does open up physically, whether it's leaning in, sharing a laugh, or even a gentle touch on the arm, it can be incredibly bonding. The key is reading the moment. Jewish culture teaches that every person is a unique creation of God, deserving tailored sensitivity, not one-size-fits-all reactions. The magic of small rituals and greetings. They create a shared rhythm, a subtle reminder that we're both human beings with hopes, struggles, and dignity. Another overlooked way Jewish tradition builds rapport is through small, almost ritualistic acts that break down barriers and create warmth. Here's how you might bring them into your everyday interactions. For example, the classic greeting shalom doesn't just mean hello, it literally means peace. Imagine the psychological impact of greeting someone with a word that carries deep connotations of harmony and wholeness. There's also the tradition of blessing others. A simple may you be blessed or God grant you peace is indeed just fluff. It's a way of expressing goodwill, reminding both people that the conversation is more than transactional, it's relational, even sacred. Try any to chat with. Hope today is a smooth one for you, or take care of yourself. Seriously, it lands deeper than a rushed by. Even saying, hey, it's really good to see you, carries a vibe of caring. These rituals might seem small, but they set a tone. How you can use this every day. Give that. You built rapport before a single deep word is spoken. You don't have to be Jewish to use these principles. Maybe the other person's distracted, shy, or just in a bad place. Building trust and rapport is more like gardening than engineering. Most people are so stuck in their own heads or glued to screens that even tiny gestures stand out like beacons. They recognize that humans are wired for connection on levels beyond speech. Hold eye contact just a bit longer. Show them you're fully there. But how we think about the worth of every person we meet. These things are rare, and because they're rare, they're powerful. Be mindful of personal space. Notice if someone leans in or pulls back. Use warm greetings. Offer small blessings or well wishes. Why this matters more than ever in today's hyper-busy world. Genuine nonverbal signals are a lost art. A soft, steady look, a small nod of understanding, a gentle shalom, like wish for peace. Jewish tradition didn't just preserve these out of habit. It's almost like our souls are constantly scanning for signs of safety and care. Real life, when IT gets awkward, now let's be real for a second. Sometimes you'll try all this holding eye contact, giving space, using warm greetings, and it still feels awkward. That's okay. Jewish wisdom doesn't promise instant success. You plant little seeds: kindness, respect, empathy, and sometimes it takes time for them to grow. In part 3, We're going to wrap this up by looking at one of the most profound teachings from Jewish thought about human connection, the idea that every person contains a divine spark. We'll see how this changes not just how we talk. Plus, we'll close with practical ways to carry this mindset into your daily life, seeing the divine spark in every person. All right, let us bring it home with one of the most powerful ideas in all of Jewish tradition, an idea that completely reframes how we see people. In Jewish thought, there's this concept called Tzelem Elohim, which means the image of God. It comes straight from the opening chapters of Genesis. God created man in his own image. Whether it's your closest friend, a difficult coworker, or the stranger who cut you off in traffic, each carries something sacred, a spark of the divine. But it's not just a theological statement. It's a radical way to look at every single human being you meet. Suddenly, being patient, being curious, being kind, those aren't just social tricks. They become a way of honoring something profoundly holy. Imagine how that changes rapport. When you see people not just as personalities or problems to solve or even allies to win over, but as living reflections of God that transforms every interaction. A practical mindset shift. So how do you actually apply this? It starts in your own head. Before a meeting, a phone call, or even sending a text, pause for just a second and think, this person is made in the image of God. They have infinite worth, just like I do, because they're no longer tactics. They're expressions of genuine respect, because that spark doesn't disappear just because someone is rough around the edges, or even seriously misguided. Like a kind of soul workout that builds your empathy muscles. It sounds simple, almost too simple, but that mindset does incredible work. It softens judgment. It builds compassion. Maybe they're rude, arrogant, or seem to have no redeeming qualities at all. It helps you stay present even when someone's annoying or hard to understand. Remind yourself, this person is infinitely valuable, even if we clash. And from there, all the techniques we talked about, eye contact, listening, kindness flow so much more naturally. It might not change them, but it will change you when it's hard. And why it's still worth it you start radiating a kind of quiet respect that people pick up on even if they can't quite name it. Now let's be honest, some people make this really hard. Jewish teachings are incredibly realistic about this. The sages didn't sugarcoat human flaws, but they still urged seeing the divine image beneath the mess. In fact, some rabbis taught that the harder it is to see the divine spark in someone, the more of a spiritual opportunity it is for you. How this changes everyday life. But if you knew beneath the dirt was a prince in disguise, wouldn't you treat him differently? Let's bring it down to earth with some real situations. And seeing the Tzelem Elohim divine image aren't outdated ideas. They're tools for building human bridges in a world desperately in need of more connection. It's about seeing the worth in people, tuning into their stories, respecting their space, and offering your full presence. As a soul cloaked in the ground of life's struggles, still royal at their core, I'd love to hear your story and your commitment, because every time one of us chooses to see the divine in someone else, the whole world gets a little more humane. On this channel, we're going to keep digging into ancient wisdom, Jewish, Greek, Persian, and more to find truths that still guide us today. At work, when a coworker frustrates you, try pausing to remember they're carrying their own heavy stories you might never see. At home, with family, it's so easy to slip into old roles or grudges with strangers, whether it's the barista who gets your order wrong or the driver who cuts you off. Look for that divine spark. Over time, this habit doesn't just build rapport, it reshapes how you walk through the world. A story from Jewish tradition, there is an old Hasidic story about a famous rabbi who was asked why he treated everyone, rich or poor, kind or cruel, with the same gentle respect. He said, when you see someone in torn clothes covered in mud, you might recoil. That's how he saw every person. Closing IT out, it called to live differently. So here's the big takeaway. Building rapport isn't ultimately about clever conversational hacks. The ancient Jewish principles we explored, Ahavat Yisrael, love, Chesed, kindness, Tzedakah, fairness, Kavod, honor. Your turn to share. So what about you? Who's someone in your life you want to reconnect with or treat with deeper respect? Maybe it's someone easy to love, or maybe it's someone who really tests your patience. Drop a comment below. If you got value from this, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on that little bell so you won't miss future videos. Until next time, stay curious, stay humble, and remember, every person you meet is carrying a spark of the divine. Treat them like it.